Well, the backup wing has arrived, so we are going to open it up and take a look. So far, everything looks pretty good. Yep, I would say that we will be in good shape. First step, I'm going to work out all the wrinkles and draw this monocoat up here. I'm not going to make you sit through while I do this because it will take some time, but once I get it done, I'll start the video again and we'll go through the process of putting everything back together. Well, I thought I'd give a tip here about shrinking monocoat and how to go about it, or how I go about it. Now, I'm sure there's probably thousands of ways this could be done, but let me tell you what I do. Whenever I take a control surface or even the wing, I'll be doing it with the wing, but this is pretty easy. I can show you. You can see this is really wrinkled up. The first thing you want to do is just lay the iron on there and just move it, and you want to heat up the covering. You don't want to really be pressing on it. You just want to let the iron glide on it. And the idea there is that you heat the covering up and it's able to shrink. Because as it starts shrinking, if it is stuck in places, then you might wind up with a wrinkle. So the idea is if you heat the entire surface here, then the shrink wrap or the covering will draw up evenly. And you can see now it's starting to do that. Another thing before you even start this process is you want to make sure that you do not have your monocoat iron too hot. This particular material here, I can use the iron at full power, so I've got it turned all the way up. And again, I'm just rubbing it, letting the weight of the iron do the pressing and just moving it over so that I can draw the covering up. And then once I've done that and I've gotten the wrinkles out, then in order to shrink it down and have it stick, I just start at one edge, doesn't matter really where, but I just work it slowly. And what I'm doing is I'm letting the monocoat heat up, and then I'm just, whenever I back up into the hot area, then I press just slightly. So I'm actually working the side of my iron instead of the whole surface. But the idea is you heat it and then put pressure on one side of the iron so that it's actually pressing the wrinkles, and in my case I'd be pressing the wrinkles from here down. But you can see that what's behind the iron now is wrinkle free. So, and you have to work slow because you want the monocoat to heat up. And on this thin a surface now, this back side is actually getting warm. So I can feel the heat coming through the wood, so I know I've gotten good heat penetration. And if you're using a monocoat iron sock, you're going to have to work with it a little bit more, a little longer, so that the heat can transfer to the monocoat. But at any rate, that's how I go about doing it. I just work slow, because it may look like you've got all the wrinkles out if you run through it pretty quick, but once it sets in the sun, you're going to get some wrinkles. And even working slow, you're going to get them, but you won't get near as many. And now this one here is complete. I've removed all the wrinkles. It's in really good shape now. I'm going to move on to the other half, and then that will complete this little process of removing the wrinkles. Okay, at this point I have completed the shrinking back of the covering, and I have all of my parts done, but now I'm going to give this a quick over again with the kicker, because what the kicker does is it's going to remove any glue. Sometimes if you're working with your Monocoat iron, you'll get a streak of brown like this right here, and what that is glue. It's actually the glue off the Monocoat. So anytime you get to a seam, you're gonna find that, and it's going to be picked up by your sock, and it'll be distributed somewhere else. Here's some more of it. And I'm not even anywhere near a seam, but you can see it right there. And the kicker will actually dissolve it and take it off. So here's some more of it right here. So you can see it makes quick work of that. But at any rate, both wings now are done. The ailerons and the flaps are done. So I think I'm ready for the next step, which is going to be to cut out the wheel well. And I'm going to cut the Monocoat, but I'm not going to use an X-Acto knife to do it. I'm actually going to be using heat. So what I have is a wood burning tool with just a pointed tip. And I'm going to take that and run around the inside of the wheel well. This is going to do two things. It's going to give me a nice cut, but also it's going to seal the edge of the covering. So you can see it doesn't take much to do it, especially with the heat. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this piece of covering here. If I need a piece of covering, I'll have a piece that matches exactly. So now you can see that I have the wheel well cut out, and the heat actually does a really nice job. And we'll do the other one. The trick here is to keep the iron moving, because then you don't burn your wheel well. In this case, it's a fiberglass wheel well. And again, I'm going to save the covering. And again, a real nice job. Okay, now we're going to do the check the fit of the nacelles that I recovered from the damaged wing. And let's see, this would be the left nacelle. So we take this, and yes, it slides right in. Okay, now that's the left one. So let's do the right one, and it should slide in as well. Yes, it's a perfect fit. Okay, and you can see the fit here now. I've given some thought while I was waiting on the wing, and I'm going to mount this one a little different. Of course, you have the factory bolt or screw that goes in here. And what I'm going to do is, if you notice here, I've got two holes on either side, and in the wing I only have the one hole. Alright, and that's just for the wires to pass through, so I can't block that hole. But I think what I want to do is go ahead and mount this nacelle, put the screw in it, and then cut some round discs, get in the CAD program and draw up some circles, and make some discs, and they can be probably 1/8 inch plywood would be fine, but cut the disc to this size and then epoxy those discs in, so that if I need to remove the nacelles again, it won't be that much of a job, because I can basically take the screw out here and then cut the wing away, and instead of having to cut the rib off of this, it's a simple pull-off deal because it's not going to be glued other than that disc being glued, and that disc would actually glue to the rib. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and that'll make it easier to take off if I need to remove it. And if you're building a kit, you might want to do that, and just in case you have to do the same thing I did, which was replace the wing. Okay, here I have the parts. This would be the parts for the right wing. So, and I have the right wing sitting here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out this area here for the retracts. If you weren't installing retracts, then this section here I would leave in. But because I'm installing retracts, the gear is going to fold past this area, so this has to be removed. And that tool makes really quick work of that. So now we will take the right gear and test fit, and it should drop right in, and it does. Now all I have to do is trim up, because I want to use this gear door, and I don't want to do any trimming with the door. So what I'm going to do is trim this area here off, because whenever the door closes, this area here, I need to be able to recess the door into that area. So I'm going to be taking my tool and doing that as well. But the first step that I need to do now is go ahead and screw this gear down so I know exactly where it's going to go. Looks like right there. I want to make sure there's no binding. So I'm going to trim this line up a little bit and then cut that one back. Now you can see I have a really nice fit there. I'm going to trim this one back to here. There we are. We have a perfect fit. Okay, here we have the parts for the other side, and so we're going to do it as well. Again, the first thing I'm going to do is cut this partition right here out. And again, if you're not using retracts, you wouldn't do this step. You would leave this. And in fact, if you weren't doing retracts, you wouldn't have cut this wheel well out either of the covering. fit. Should drop right in. Okay, and the same thing again, we're going to cut the back here with the X-Acto knife. That way I know where the cut is, or where it should be. And then we'll cut this part right here. What I'm doing is removing this lip. This sheeting here, from this piece up, it has to be moved because this is actually taking its place. And without that missing, it's holding this up. So this can't sit all the way down. So this piece of sheeting has to go. See, that's a perfect fit. Okay, at this point I'm going to start doing a little finish work, and what I've got here is just some acrylic paint, and I'm actually going to brush the inside areas of the flaps. So this is going to give them a nice finish, and I'm not going to bore you with my painting. But the idea is to paint the inside of the flap area, and we do this before we add the flap.